Kevin Costner named the top 8 most beautiful women ever. Few actors have worked with more iconic leading ladies than Kevin Costner. From his breakout years in the 1980s through his current renaissance on Yellowstone, Costner has shared the screen with Hollywood's most captivating women across 4 decades. But beyond his on-screen partnerships, Costner has occasionally shared remarkably candid assessments of the women who've left the deepest impressions on him throughout his career. Kevin has this unique perspective, revealed a longtime colleague who's worked with Costner on multiple films. He's been the romantic lead opposite some of the most beautiful women in Hollywood history, but he sees beauty in a way that goes beyond the obvious. For him, it's about presence, intelligence, and this indefinable quality of authenticity that he can immediately recognize. Tonight, we reveal Kevin Costner's personal ranking of the 8 women who've most captivated him throughout his life in film, from screen legends he admired from afar to co-stars who left indelible impressions through direct collaboration. These selections reveal not just Costner's personal aesthetic, but his deeper appreciation for the qualities that transform mere attractiveness into the kind of beauty that truly endures.
With my daughter.
Wow.
And when the moment happened where the wrong envelope was handed to them.
Annette Bening, the commanding presence. At number 8 on Costner's list stands Annette Bening, an actress whose blend of classical training and natural presence creates an undeniable magnetism on screen. Though they've never shared lead roles, Costner has spoken repeatedly about his admiration for Bening's unique combination of technical precision and authentic emotion. Elegant, sharp, and impossible to ignore, Costner described her during a 2015 Hollywood Reporter roundtable. What makes Annette special isn't just her obvious talent, but how she transforms ordinary moments into something memorable. She brings this laser focus to every scene that makes everyone around her raise their game. What particularly impresses Costner about Bening is her commanding presence, the ability to center any scene through sheer force of personality rather than theatrical techniques or visual styling. This quality aligns with Costner's own naturalistic approach to performance, creating a professional admiration that has endured throughout their parallel careers. She doesn't just walk into a room, she commands it, Costner has said in interviews when discussing actresses he respects. There's nothing forced about her work. She simply exists on screen with such conviction that you can't look away, even in the quietest moments. Though they've crossed paths at industry events and award ceremonies rather than on set, Costner has consistently named Bening as someone he'd welcome the opportunity to work with. This professional admiration reflects his appreciation for actors who bring complete commitment to their craft while maintaining an uncompromising authenticity. Though they never shared a lead role, he's called her his dream scene partner, confirmed a casting director who has worked with both actors. Kevin has this list of actors he wants to work with before he's done, and Annette has been near the top of that list for years. He sees in her the same commitment to honest performance that he strives for in his own work. What elevates Bening beyond mere admiration to inclusion on Costner's list of most beautiful women is how her physical presence is inseparable from her intelligence and skill, creating a complete package that exemplifies what Costner most values in his female collaborators.
A little bit about your character in the film? Yeah, I play Allie Parker. She's the head of the salary cap at the Cleveland Browns, and she happens to be
Jennifer Garner, the natural radiance. Costner's appreciation for Jennifer Garner developed through direct collaboration when they co-starred in 2014's Draft Day. This working relationship revealed to Costner qualities in Garner that perfectly aligned with his preference for natural, unaffected beauty combined with professional excellence. They starred together in Draft Day, and Costner was openly charmed, recalled the film's director Ivan Reitman. There was this immediate professional chemistry between them that made their scenes together particularly easy to shoot. Kevin would come off set talking about how refreshing it was to work with someone so prepared, yet so naturally present in each moment. What particularly impressed Costner about Garner was her ability to maintain complete authenticity regardless of the scene's demands, bringing the same grounded quality to emotional moments, comedic exchanges, and the film's more technical dialogue about football operations. This consistency spoke to Costner's appreciation for performers who remain true to themselves under the artificial conditions of filmmaking. He praised her as natural, radiant, and calm in the storm, noted a crew member who worked on Draft Day. During a particularly complicated scene with lots of technical dialogue, Kevin turned to the director after a take and said, "That's what it looks like when someone isn't trying to act like they understand. She actually gets it." It was this perfect blend of intelligence and natural presence that really impressed him. Costner's appreciation for Garner extended beyond her professional capabilities to her genuine warmth with the crew and her lack of the typical Hollywood affectations that he's found off-putting in other collaborators. This authenticity resonated with Costner's own unpretentious approach to his career and life. He once said, "Some actresses try to look grounded. She just is," remembered a producer who worked with both stars. Kevin has this radar for detecting anything false or performed in someone's persona. With Jennifer, what struck him was that there was no separation between the person and the public figure. What you saw was genuinely who she was, both on camera and off. This consistency between public and private self represents a quality Costner has increasingly valued as his own career has evolved, moving away from manufactured Hollywood personas toward authentic connections, both on screen and in his personal life.
Really? Wow. See, that's what happens when...
You had a thing with her as well?
Susan Sarandon, the intellectual chemistry. Few on-screen pairings in Costner's career generated more genuine chemistry than his collaboration with Susan Sarandon in the 1988 baseball classic Bull Durham. Their scenes together crackled with intellectual and physical tension that transcended the script, creating a connection that Costner has referenced repeatedly when discussing the most beautiful women he's worked with. They made magic in Bull Durham, and the chemistry wasn't fake, confirmed the film's director Ron Shelton. What Kevin responded to in Susan wasn't just her obvious beauty, but her extraordinary intelligence. Their scenes worked because they were genuinely challenging each other intellectually, creating this perfect blend of mental and physical attraction that you can't fake. What particularly captivated Costner about Sarandon was her ability to project both intellectual depth and sensuality simultaneously, a combination he's often cited as the most compelling form of beauty. This duality perfectly matched the character of Annie Savoy, the baseball groupie with the soul of a philosopher. Costner called her the smartest, sexiest woman I've ever acted with, recalled a crew member from the production. After filming their first major scene together, Kevin came off set and told me, "Working with her is like having a great tennis partner. Every shot comes back with something unexpected that makes you play better." That intellectual challenge clearly excited him as much as their romantic scenes. The impression Sarandon made on Costner has endured long past their collaboration, with Costner frequently citing her as the benchmark for the kind of engaged, intellectually stimulating partnership he values most with leading ladies. This appreciation has deepened over time as he's gained perspective on what creates genuine on-screen chemistry. He said, "She had the eyes of someone who knew the whole story and let you think you were catching up," shared a writer who interviewed Costner about his most memorable co-stars. Years after Bull Durham, he was still referencing that quality in Susan, how she could communicate complete awareness and mystery simultaneously. For him, that combination of knowing and revealing was the essence of what makes a woman truly captivating on screen. This enduring impression speaks to Costner's appreciation for beauty that emerges from complete engagement, intellectual, emotional, and physical, rather than from more superficial attributes that might capture attention but fail to sustain interest over time.
Serious actresses can't have big bosoms. Is that what you mean?
Well, I think that they might sort of detract from the performance.
Helen Mirren, the timeless elegance. Though Costner and Helen Mirren never shared significant screen time, his admiration for her represents something different on his list. Respect that borders on reverence for a woman who has redefined how beauty and sensuality can evolve throughout an entire career. Costner's respect for her borders on worship, observed a producer who worked with both actors separately. When Helen's name comes up in conversation with Kevin, there's this immediate shift in his tone, this unusual combination of professional respect and genuine awe that you rarely hear from him about other actors, regardless of their status. What particularly impresses Costner about Mirren is her ability to maintain both dignity and sensuality throughout the decades of her career, never attempting to present herself as younger than she is, yet never surrendering her essential femininity or power. This authentic embracing of each life phase represents for Costner a particularly compelling form of beauty. He said, "Helen isn't just beautiful, she's timeless," recalled a director who discussed Mirren with Costner during pre-production on a film. Kevin made this interesting observation that most actresses fight against time, while Helen seems to have embraced it as a partner. That approach to aging, gracefully incorporating each life stage rather than resisting it, clearly resonates with his own philosophy about authentic presence. Despite his own considerable star power, Costner has admitted to feeling genuinely nervous around Mirren, a rare confession that reveals the depth of his admiration for her poise, talent, and enduring elegance. This unusual deference speaks to the unique place she occupies in his personal hierarchy of admired women. Even during red carpet interviews, he's admitted, "I still get nervous around her," shared a publicist who has worked events where both stars were present. For someone like Kevin, who's worked with everyone and maintains this very centered, confident presence, to admit that kind of reaction is extraordinary. It speaks to how deeply he respects not just her talent, but her entire approach to navigating the industry while maintaining complete authenticity. This admiration for Mirren's integrated approach to beauty, talent, and aging reflects Costner's evolving perspective on what constitutes genuine beauty, moving beyond youthful attributes to appreciate the more complex and substantive qualities that emerge through a life fully lived and embraced.
Parenthood part is kind of the best dish that I saw in the script. I loved it.
Diane Lane, the magnetic authenticity. Few actresses have shared the screen with Costner as frequently or effectively as Diane Lane. Their multiple collaborations, including Man of Steel and Let Him Go, have created a professional shorthand and mutual trust that allows for particularly authentic on-screen connections. They've worked together on multiple films, including Let Him Go and Man of Steel, noted the director of Let Him Go, Thomas Bezucha. What's fascinating about watching them work together is this immediate comfort level. There's no warm-up period needed. They drop instantly into a relationship that feels lived in and real, which is extraordinarily rare, even among experienced actors. What Costner particularly values in Lane is her complete commitment to emotional truth, her willingness to fully inhabit vulnerable moments without vanity or self-protection. This courage creates a magnetic quality that Costner has referenced repeatedly when discussing what makes certain actresses especially compelling on screen. Costner has described her as deep, grounded, and magnetic, shared a cinematographer who worked on Let Him Go. During one particularly emotional scene, Kevin watched Diane's performance on the monitor between his takes and just shook his head in admiration. He turned to me and said, "That's as good as it gets. Total commitment with nothing held back." That willingness to be completely exposed emotionally is something he clearly finds beautiful beyond the physical. Their professional chemistry has evolved through multiple projects into a deep mutual respect, with each bringing out particular qualities in the other's performances. For Costner, Lane represents the ideal scene partner, someone whose complete presence allows him to fully inhabit emotional moments without self-consciousness. He once said, "When she's in the scene, you forget the camera's even there," recalled a producer who worked with both actors. That's the highest compliment Kevin can pay to another actor, that they help create moments so authentic that the technical apparatus of filmmaking disappears. With Diane, he feels that connection consistently, which is why he continues to seek out projects with her. This appreciation for Lane's ability to create genuine emotional spaces within the artificial context of filmmaking speaks to Costner's valuing of authenticity above all other qualities, a perspective that has only strengthened throughout his decades in the industry. Brigitte Bardot, The Eternal Fantasy. Not all the women on Costner's list represent direct collaborators.
To speak English.
In London.
A good place.
Yes.
You know, you are
Brigitte Bardot, The Eternal Fantasy. Not all the women on Costner's list represent direct collaborators. Brigitte Bardot, the iconic French actress and sex symbol of the 1950s and 60s, holds a special place in his personal pantheon as the embodiment of an era's ideal of beauty that made a profound impression on him during his formative years. Though they never met, Costner once said in an interview, "If you grew up in the 60s and didn't fall in love with Bardot, you weren't alive," recalled a journalist who has interviewed Costner extensively. There was something almost wistful in how he discussed her, this acknowledgement of how certain images and ideals shape our understanding of beauty at impressionable ages. What makes Bardot's inclusion on Costner's list particularly interesting is how it represents beauty as cultural phenomenon rather than personal connection, an acknowledgement of how certain figures transcend ordinary standards to become definitive references for entire generations. For Costner, Bardot embodied a particular kind of liberated feminine energy that represented something revolutionary in its time. Classic beauty, untouchable mystique, Costner reportedly described her during a conversation about influential screen icons. What fascinated him about Bardot wasn't just her obvious physical attributes, but how she projected a sense of freedom that was radical for her era. This unapologetic sensuality that challenged conventions while creating new ones. Unlike his assessments of women he's worked with directly, Costner's appreciation for Bardot is more abstract, an acknowledgement of beauty as cultural force rather than interpersonal connection. This perspective reveals his understanding of how screen images shape our collective understanding of beauty across generations. For Kevin, Bardot represents something almost mythological, explained a director who has discussed film history extensively with Costner. She's not a real person to him, but an ideal. This perfect encapsulation of a particular moment in cinema when female sexuality was being redefined on screen. His appreciation isn't for the woman herself, whom he's never met, but for what she represented culturally. This inclusion of a screen icon he never encountered personally demonstrates Costner's broader understanding of beauty as cultural conversation, acknowledging how our personal aesthetics are shaped by collective images and representations that define particular eras.
The store, I bought it in Jackson in California, and it was a blouse. And I said, oh, it's such a beautiful blouse. It's too bad.
Raquel Welch, The Power of Presence. Like Bardot, Raquel Welch represents for Costner a defining beauty of an era, a woman whose iconic presence in 1970s cinema created an indelible impression on a generation of young men, including Costner himself. Her inclusion on his list acknowledges the power of certain screen presences to define beauty standards across decades. He once called her the reason every boy wanted to go to the movies in the 1970s, shared a colleague who has discussed film influences with Costner. There was this quality of awe in how he described her impact, this recognition that certain screen presences transcend normal standards to become cultural touchstones that influence how entire generations define beauty. What particularly impressed Costner about Welch was her complete ownership of her image and presence, a confidence that transformed her from merely beautiful to genuinely iconic. This self-possession created a screen presence that commanded attention through sheer force of personality rather than just physical attributes. Even decades later, he said, "She walked like she knew every camera was already following her," recalled a producer who worked with Costner in the 1990s. Kevin has this theory about screen presence, that the most compelling actors don't seek the camera's attention, but simply assume it, creating a gravitational pull that's impossible to resist. Raquel exemplified that quality for him. Like his appreciation for Bardot, Costner's inclusion of Welch reflects his understanding of beauty as cultural phenomenon, acknowledging how certain figures come to represent the ideals of particular eras. This historical perspective reveals his appreciation for how standards evolve across decades while certain iconic presences retain their power. What Kevin responds to in Raquel isn't just the obvious physical beauty, but the complete confidence with which she occupied space on screen, explained someone who has discussed influential actresses with Costner. That combination of beauty and absolute self-possession created something more powerful than either quality alone could have achieved, a presence that defined an era while transcending it. This appreciation for Welch's cultural impact demonstrates Costner's understanding of beauty as ongoing conversation between performers and audience, a dynamic exchange that creates icons whose influence extends far beyond their individual films or era.
Yeah, well, let's get this over with, okay? Give me a kiss.
Whitney Houston, the soul that touched him most. At the top of Costner's list stands Whitney Houston, a choice that reveals the profound impact of their collaboration on The Bodyguard and the deep personal connection that transcended their professional relationship. Her position as his #1 most beautiful woman ever speaks to beauty that encompasses far more than physical attributes. Costner didn't just admire her beauty, he loved her, stated the producer of The Bodyguard, who witnessed their relationship develop throughout production. What made Whitney special in Kevin's eyes was this remarkable vulnerability beneath her extraordinary talent and beauty. He saw in her something most people missed, this soulfulness and uncertainty behind the confident public persona. Their connection began before cameras ever rolled, when Costner fought to cast Houston, despite studio concerns about her lack of acting experience. This early advocacy revealed his immediate recognition of qualities in Houston that others had overlooked, a depth and authenticity he believed would translate powerfully to screen despite her inexperience as an actress. In The Bodyguard, he fought to cast her when no one else believed in her, confirmed a Warner Brothers executive involved in the production. The studio had significant reservations about building such an expensive film around an unproven actress, but Kevin was absolutely adamant. He kept saying, "There's something in her eyes that you can't teach, a truth that comes through regardless of experience." That conviction never wavered throughout production. What emerged during filming was a relationship that transcended typical co-star dynamics, a protective, nurturing connection in which Costner helped guide Houston through her first major acting role while developing a genuine personal bond that would last until her tragic death in 2012. The beauty Kevin saw in Whitney was multidimensional, explained a crew member from The Bodyguard. It wasn't just her obvious physical beauty or her extraordinary voice, it was this combination of tremendous gift and genuine fragility that brought out something protective in him. He recognized both her extraordinary talent and the vulnerability that came with it. This complex appreciation culminated in Costner's deeply moving eulogy at Houston's funeral, a moment that revealed the enduring impact she had made on him, both professionally and personally. His willingness to speak so openly about their connection in such a public forum demonstrated the unique place she held in his life and career. He eulogized her at her funeral and said, "She was the most beautiful person I ever stood beside, inside and out," recalled someone who attended the service. What was most striking about Kevin's words was how he focused on her humanity rather than her celebrity, on the person he had known rather than the icon the world had seen. That distinction revealed how deeply he had connected with the real Whitney beneath the public image. Houston's position, at the top of Costner's list, speaks to his understanding of beauty as something that emerges from the complete integration of external attributes with internal qualities, the harmonious alignment of gift, presence, vulnerability, and authenticity that creates something more meaningful than conventional beauty alone. She wasn't just a co-star, she was unforgettable, Costner has stated in interviews when reflecting on their collaboration. This ranking reveals something profound about how Kevin understands beauty, observed a director who has worked closely with Costner. For him to place Whitney above legendary screen beauties like Bardot and Welch demonstrates that his definition extends far beyond the visual to encompass the complete human connection, the moments when external beauty is illuminated by internal light. As we examine Costner's selections of the most beautiful women he's encountered throughout his career, patterns emerge that reveal his evolving understanding of beauty itself. From the classic screen goddesses who captivated his youth to the complex, multidimensional women with whom he's collaborated directly, his list reflects a journey from appreciating conventional beauty to valuing the deeper qualities that create truly unforgettable presence. Kevin's choices tell a story about how his perspective has matured, observed a director who has worked with Costner across different decades. The younger Kevin might have been primarily drawn to the obvious beauty of figures like Bardot and Welch. The more experienced Kevin recognizes that while those iconic qualities remain powerful, the beauty that truly resonates comes from integration of external attributes with authentic internal depth. This evolution mirrors Costner's own journey as an actor and filmmaker, moving from the conventional leading man roles of his early career toward projects that explore more complex emotional territory and require deeper engagement. As his own work has gained depth and nuance, so too has his appreciation for similar qualities in his female collaborators. What's particularly revealing about Costner's list is how it balances acknowledgement of legendary beauty with personal connection. By including both untouchable icons like Bardot and collaborators like Houston and Lane, he demonstrates an understanding of beauty as both cultural phenomenon and interpersonal experience, recognizing how these dimensions interact without being identical. Whitney's position at the top of his list is the key to understanding Kevin's perspective, noted someone who knew both Costner and Houston. By placing their genuine human connection above the more abstract appreciation of screen goddesses, he's making a clear statement about what beauty means to him at its deepest level. It's not just about who makes the strongest visual impression, but about who touches something essential within him as a person. This priority reflects Costner's broader life philosophy as he's moved into the elder statesman phase of his career. like his shift toward projects with substantive themes and emotional depth, his appreciation of beauty has evolved to value authenticity, vulnerability, and genuine connection above more superficial or conventional attributes. The through line in all his choices is authenticity, concluded a longtime friend who has observed Costner's career and personal evolution. Whether it's the unapologetic sensuality of Bardot, the magnetic presence of Lane, or the